What's going on, guys? ARGH here. Welcome back to another episode of my F1 2016 career mode, episode number 8 today for the Baku Grand Prix, obviously the brand new circuit in Formula 1, so this is going to be quite an interesting episode. The first time I'm going to do a race on it, because I haven't actually done a full race on this circuit. I've done a few laps here and there. Obviously I tested it back in March, but I've never done a full race on it, so it's going to be very, very interesting. So before we get into it, just before practice, obviously we got that new upgrade. We purchased it at the end of the last episode at Canada, which was the downforce upgrade, as I felt like that was probably the biggest game we could make out of all the ones that we could even afford, because we couldn't actually afford the next engine upgrade. I think from now on it looks like I'm probably going to be just saving up for the next engine upgrade. It might take us maybe even 3 rounds to save up enough, just because you can only get a max of 175 resource points in practice, and then maybe a few hundred more for qualifying in the race. So we might have to save up for 2 races to get that next engine upgrade, which I think is going to be the most useful, and I think you'll see later on why I'm saying that. But we go on towards practice. We did track timesization. We only passed it, didn't get a perfect on it because I just couldn't get used to Baku, and I was making tons and tons of mistakes, as you can see in the little highlight reel now of practice. Many off excursions, crashes were made in practice at Baku, and in FP3 it started to rain as well ahead of qualifying, which, okay, I was like, okay, we need to go out in this session in FP3 to practice in the rain, because if it's going to be raining in qualifying, we need to get used to the car, and it went very, very badly. I was really dreading going into this qualifying in the race, because I don't think I got many clean laps in practice as a whole over Baku, and just generally I just did not find the track very nice to drive. I mean, it's not a bad flowing track, like when you get everything right it's alright, but in the Mclaren it just has this sense of like, oh, I just don't know where I'm going. There's a lot of understeer in the car, and then down the straight it is just horrible. But after practice, just between practice and qualifying, we got our new rival, which is Danica Fiat from our PR agent. So we're ready to go. You join us here in Q1. Q1 here at Baku, unlike the last 2 races, was not a formality at all. You can see we're on the full wet tyres because the rain started to come down even more from FP3 to the beginning of qualifying. So you can see went through turn 1 very gingerly, a lot of understeer generally in the car. You can see how much lock I'm having to put in the car just to slow the thing down and turn it around. And we get to the castle section, bit of skating as we enter it, but we navigate it alright at the moment. But just generally the car was basically on ice. I'm not going to lie, there's no other way to really put it. We go down the back straight, the back section. This one was very, very tricky. Had no confidence in the car, lifting off quite a bit there, down to 6th gear, and then we climb up the gears to 8th, and then it's just a very, very long, lonely run to the line, and I was very, very concerned that we weren't even going to make it into Q2, because I hadn't got higher than about P20 in practice. We come across the line, at the moment it's P8, but obviously people haven't set their lap times. We go straight on as I just give up on life and hope at the end of that lap, because I really did not feel confident about that lap. But we just about scraped through there, as you can see, because the likes of Lewis Hamilton and my teammate Jenson Button don't set lap times, as well as the Saubers. I'm not too sure why. I think perhaps it might have been a little bit of a glitch on the AI's fault, but I'm also going to say that maybe they had a crash and maybe didn't get out there on time, because Rosberg had no issues there, so it wasn't like it was a specific team thing, because Rosberg did fine. And then into Q2, which we did make it into, we set 1 time on the intermediates there. It wasn't good enough because we're in P16 at the moment, so we're going to start a brand new lap that you're watching on board right now. You can see the delta flickering up there, but as we exit the curb on turn 1 on the exit, you can see we're up on our delta time now, so hopefully we'll be improving from P16 and perhaps getting into Q3. I mean, the lap generally felt better. You can see there I'm able to fight the car a little bit more, wrestle it through the corners, through the castle section. Seems pretty much the same as Q1, really, just taking it nice and easy. You can't really push too much in that castle section. But you can see just there, kind of chopping at the steering wheel, but feeling a little bit more fighty on this lap than I did in Q1. A bit more kind of hope that we can maybe put in a good lap time here, down to 6th gear quite aggressively through the right hands, and then another lonely run to the line. We're in P16 at the moment, so dead last in Q2, but we've made a lot of time up on our very first lap because the confidence was just totally different on this second run. You know, the first run I was very, very cautious into every corner pretty much, but we come across the line. What is it going to be? It's going to be P4, so we will make it into Q3, thankfully, and I think it's going to be drying out even more, so we'll see what happens there. But Sebastian Vettel looking pretty damn good at the moment around Baku. Obviously, Hamilton not there to fight him, just Rosberg, his fellow German, but he's looking very good for pole position, perhaps. And so we come across the line at the moment. We're in P5, and that's our first flying lap on the option tyres. But as you can see on the top left, if you keep looking, we go down the order a little bit. But you can see on the top right, our delta is positive. So I actually thought about continuing on here. I just thought maybe it's a case of, like we see in real life sometimes, that maybe the second lap is a faster lap because the tyres rubber in, they've got a bit more temperature, and just generally also I was getting used to the circuit. It was all about building confidence here in this qualifying run because, you know, you can see there's still spray coming off the tyre on the straight, so it's still very damp here on the super softs, albeit we are on the dry tyre, on the slicks. So it's just about building confidence. So in this second lap, it was so much better, setting my fastest sector the entire weekend, pretty much, I'm pretty sure. And at the moment, we're in P7, but let's see what it will be through this section. As you can see, just taking a lot more speed, a lot more confidence, able to get a lot more closer to that inside wall on that last right-hander as we now go towards the line. Such a long straight, but just stupidly straight in my opinion. It just far too long. It just takes way too long to get to the line, but we come across the line. It's a much better lap time than the one we did on the first flying lap, so definitely a case of building confidence there. As we end this session out, it's going to be quite brilliant and extraordinary P4 here at Baku, beating both Ferraris who were looking so strong at the beginning, so that has set us up for a brilliant Grand Prix perhaps. Daniel Ricciardo getting surprise pole position there with obviously Lewis Hamilton out in Q1, so this is going to be a very interesting Grand Prix because the pace in practice was horrible, but then the changeable conditions here really did help us, but I just fear what's going to come on a completely dry Baku circuit for the race. So let's just see what happens. Let's go to the grid for the Baku Grand Prix. Right, so here we are taking a look at the strategy ahead of the Grand Prix. You can see it's going to get a bit sunnier. It's going to start off cloudy, and then it might actually rain towards the end there. You can see on the top right where the weather symbols are. So this could get quite interesting towards the end. You can see we're putting a lot less fuel in the car, just enough to get through without having to do any fuel saving, hopefully. So 26 laps, 26.1 of fuel put in. You can see we also went for the 2-stop strategy, the softs, and then 2 super softs. The team also had the option of doing a 1-stop, but I think honestly we're going to want to be probably on fresh tyres, just pushing, I think. Otherwise we might struggle. I don't think I'll be able to keep up the pace on worn tyres, to be honest. And going through the formation lap, you can see all the R&D points we got, early lead on Kvyat in the rivalry, and our team are still pretty happy. And then on the rest of the formation lap, you can see here I've backed up Raikkonen here in 4th, in 5th, we're in 4th, and I've backed them up quite a bit to get this gap to Rosberg, just so I could push a little bit here, now you can see, and just really test the brakes into some of these corners, just generally get a feel for the car on this heavier fuel on the dry tyres, because of course I've not had any running really in practice. It was mostly just crashing around and in the wet, and then obviously qualifying was very damp, so very different conditions. So we did that, and now we're lined up in P4, quite surprisingly, up against these Red Bulls and the Mercs. But here we go to the Baku Grand Prix. We go to 5 red lights here in Azerbaijan. What will we do today? Let's go to 5 red lights, dump the clutch, and we get away. And Verstappen's got an absolute shocker of a start. Absolute nightmare of a start as we go down his inside there. Into turn 1 we go side by side with the German Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes, but we can't make it stick. We're down to 3rd place though, ahead of Max Verstappen, who literally must have got the worst start he's ever had in his career, because that was such a bogged down getaway off the 5 red lights. And later on into the lap though, through sector 3, you can see Verstappen right up my gearbox with the proximity arrows. The mirror is a little bit glitched in this race, unfortunately, so apologies for that. But Verstappen comes through down the inside on the super soft tyres though, remember, so he's going to have better grip through those corners anyway. But just generally the car already not feeling too great as we come through these corners though, swooping around that lovely panning shot right up to the wall. You can see we're actually closing up and going on, overtaking Verstappen, re-overtaking him, because as soon as he overtook us, we got right back in his toe and slipstream, and so we're back past him as we go down. Look at this shot, ridiculous it looks like. 2 Ferraris, 2 Williams, and me and Verstappen going down like it's the M40 and we go down into turn 1. Verstappen goes down our inside, blocks us off on the exit there by brake checking us a little bit, and he's back up into third, unfortunately. So we were ahead of him going into the brake zone, but I just don't have much confidence in turn 1 yet. So Verstappen gets us on the brakes, and here's Raikkonen now looking very punchy indeed in the slipstream. Here he comes to the left, also on super soft tyres to know, so these guys are going to be very, very fast, and there I completely just muck up my brake zone. I really did not know where to brake for that corner yet. Even in practice, I just couldn't get a hang of it. Literally, I just have not got to grips with this circuit. It just really is a maze to me still. And now Massa comes out of nowhere on the left-hand side now on lap 3. So we're just going to get mugged and passed off by all these cars. We go side by side through this corner though, hang it around the outside. Maybe we can give Massa a little bit of a fight. Probably the only bit of racing we're going to have in this race, it looks like, because all these guys are so quick in a straight line compared to this McLaren Honda. And so we go side by side still with the Brazilian. He's going to keep it down the inside. We keep it round the outside. We should get the inside line for the next corner. We will, and we will get that move, and we'll keep that place for now. But cutting later on, you can see through the final sector again, swooping round to that long hit straight, and once more it's looking like the M40. The car pulls up to the left to overtake, and also on the right. I'm pretty sure this is absolute misery. This is the definition of misery, just being passed so easily like that in a straight line, and I'm completely helpless. I now know what Fernando Alonso was talking about in Japan. It just really is just embarrassing, and it is just, you just feel helpless. You just feel completely weak because you can't do anything. You can't push the car anymore in the straight. So the Toro Rosso's passed us, and you know, I don't have much to say else. You know, Vettel's going to try and get us. We go down the inside of Sainz, try and fight back here, and it looks like we potentially might have him. Yes, we do, as he goes slow through that corner, but he's just going to come back at us because on towards lap 5, here he comes. Oh, yeah, goodbye, mate, goodbye. And Vettel on the right-hand side, he's going to come up down on the right-hander, around the outside into turn 1. We're going to give him a fight. Sainz has got past us, that's fair and done, but we're going to give Sebastian Vettel a fight. Looks like he's backed out of it, and he tucks in behind us for 9th place. So at the moment, we're down in 8th, so we've lost 4 positions in the span of 5 laps there, and at that rate, we're going to be stone dead last at this rate by the end of the Grand Prix. Vettel now charges through with some slipstream behind him. I think that's a Manicar, but we'll concentrate on Vettel so far. He's right past us, completely past us before the brake zone even comes with DRS, but we brake late, try and go around the outside, but we've been squeezed into the curb. Vettel does really well to squirm around on the right-hand side to kind of block any line off I was taking, and he's up into 8th place. And now we've got Rio Haryanto behind us, and well, you know when things are going badly, when Rio Haryanto is going to legitimately probably overtake you here and actually mug you off in front of your pals, because we're here on towards lap 7, and here comes Rio Haryanto in the manor. What an absolute rocket ship. Even more so the Force India out of nowhere. Look at the speed Perez has. Oh my word. Perez, shocking, disgusting speed, illegal speed there. Through into turn 1. He's up into what will be 9th place. We're down to 10th as we overtake Haryanto through turn 1, but it's not looking pretty. On the very end of the next lap, Haryanto once again comes through, and then also Kvyat there on the right-hand side looks like, and there's been yellow flags. I think a car went to the pits, and oh, Gutierrez is out of the race. I don't even know. I think he was behind a safety car. Safety car's been called out. I don't know if Gutierrez was right behind us, but I think that was him going to the pit. So did he muck it up going to the pit lane? So we're going to look at a replay here. So this is us in front of Haryanto going through the right-hander, the final right-hander, and then you have this little kink towards the final pit straight. And so here's Haryanto, goes through on the left. I thought it was a Toro Rosso. It was actually Kvyat here. It was actually Gutierrez here on the right-hand side on next to us. And then here, oh my God! What on earth have you done there, Esteban? What on earth have you done there? So Esteban Gutierrez thought he would go into the pit lane and clearly forgot that the pit lane was a lot earlier than he was trying to overtake me for, and he completely mucked that up right into that wall there on the left that you can see. And now we're into the pit, under the safety car pitting, because my team think it's going to be better if we change our strategy, go onto the medium tyres, so the hardest tyre at this race weekend, and try and go all the way to the end. Potentially not all the way, because there was some rain coming right at the end, at the beginning of your screen, if you saw on the strategy, so we might have to gingerly, drive around on these tyres right at the end. We'll have to see how hard the rain comes down, but a beautiful kind of strategy there in terms of Jensen just came in there right on time when I didn't hold him up, thankfully, so that's always good, because as much as, obviously you want to beat your teammate, you don't want to hinder him too much, but we move later on towards the end of the safety car period, right behind Sergio Perez, who also pit for medium tyres. A lot of people did the same strategy I'm doing right now, and we're all going to the end on medium tyres, but on the restart, I try and overtake Perez here. We've gone right up side by side with him, we can overtake him as soon as it goes green, which it did. We go into turn 1, overtake Haryanto, or Verline, I should say, sorry. We overtake Verline as he's caught napping there in into turn 1, and we're up into 11th place. Had to make that move because these guys are just going to get right past us again, to be honest, because we move on to the end of lap 11 through the final kink again, and here comes Verline now, the other Mana car, even before the DRS line comes through. Obviously, DRS not activated yet, as it activates after 2 laps of safety car, but we get back in the tow of Verline, just like we did on Verstappen on lap 1, and we come back at him, so actually that works out quite well for us. They overtook us, because we get back at him with a second bite of the toe, and we go around the outside of him up into 8th place, but that was, I think, Verstappen looking at us around there, also behind us, but here comes Verline yet again, 2 laps later, and it's the Ferrari now of Sebastian Vettel, also heading for medium tyre, so he's coming back at us all as well. So it looks like a lot of people pretty much have done this strategy of going from either the super softs or the softs to the medium tyre, going all to the end, and we'll have to see how the damp period works out for us. But we got back ahead of Verline. I'm pretty sure at this point Verline's getting very annoyed with me, because he clearly does actually have the pace to be faster than me in a straight line at least, and I'm just bogging him down in the corners. But you know, we have to do that, because that's the only way we're going to try and maybe finish ahead of him. But here he comes again with a second bite of the cherry of DRS, and he's going to get us, I think, unless we can maybe break late around the outside like we tried on Vettel this time against the Mana. I think it might work out for us, because we're going to have better downforce than the Mana compared to the Ferrari when we tried it against Vettel or Raikkonen it was earlier on the Grand Prix. Still side by side, but Verline surprisingly actually gets some great traction there on the right-hander, and he's up into what will be 9th place. So we're in the final points paying position at the moment on lap 14. We've got about, what's that, 12 laps to go in this Grand Prix, but it's not looking too great. I think we might even finish out the points at this rate, but we come back at Verline, surprisingly, with DRS, and would you look, guys, we need to take a moment. We need to take a moment. That's the first DRS move I've made this entire race. Can we get an applause for that? Can you pause the video, hit that like button for one overtake with DRS. That's stunning stuff here, Baku. We can move on to the end of lap 15, and he's come back past us. Great. He's gone. He's great. I honestly, I don't know what to say. You can tell my commentary is maybe a little bit more relaxed than usual, because it's hard to get very excited and stay completely kind of focused with the commentary when it is just comically slow. Our car is just a sitting duck in a straight line. Rosberg's right behind us, who's quite down the order, surprisingly, from Vettel, who's also on the medium tyre, so maybe he got caught up. Obviously, his teammate Hamilton is still coming back in the race from getting knocked out in Q1, but Rosberg goes past us. I don't put up much of a fight. I don't even try and late brake into that corner to try maybe try something around the outside. Just would have been kind of just a bit pointless, really. So Rosberg comes around there, and he's up into 8th place. We're in 9th at the moment. The sunset is coming here down in Azerbaijan at Baku, and now we've got Palmer in the Renault, and this is when it gets really embarrassing. Like, the Mana, okay, it's got a Mercedes engine, but the Renault, with a Renault engine, obviously, being a Renault, overtakes us. Raikkonen goes around the outside there, no issue. And now the other Renault of Magnussen is going to overtake us, albeit on super softs, but still, he's got a Renault engine in the back of it, which is not, you know, it's better than the Honda, but not that much better. And they're legitimately trying to overtake me and look like they've got better pace than me, albeit on 2 softer compounds, I will admit that, but still, it is just, yeah, well, I'm not going to lie, at this point in the Grand Prix, while I was racing around, I'd pretty much given up with the race, essentially. In my mind, I already knew we weren't going to get points this Grand Prix, basically. So I don't even know what I was just driving for pride, pretty much. On lap 19, you can see we've been passed on either side. It's just all a bit, yeah, I would rather be anywhere else but now, really. Especially in that moment when they both came side by side with me and just literally just mugged me off completely in a bit of a sandwich of a Force India and a Renault here. But we come through this second corner, and Magnussen actually helps us out a little bit, holds up Hulkenberg there, so we get a bit of tone slipstream off him, and Hulkenberg struggles to get past us here on the straight. So for now, we might keep this 11th place, but he comes back down the inside. We're going to go side by side through that corner, but we'll just about get it and hang on to 11th place. So still a bit of fighting to do, and now you can see onto the very next lap, you can see the spray coming off Hulkenberg's car as he goes offline. So it's starting to rain here, still on slick, so much like Brazil 2012. It's actually looking quite wet, but the slick tire is still working quite well. We go down the inside of the German, try and go side by side, try and just have some sort of decency and try and fight for some sort of just a humility here at the Baku Grand Prix, going around the outside of the Force India, and we just about hold it through. But the rain really is coming down at the moment, but at the moment it's still dry enough for the dry tyres. We come on to lap 22 now. My teammate is in the pits, and you can see we've continued on. We've got Kimi Raikkonen, I think that was, out of the race. We've got yellow flags. Magnussen ahead of me, continued on. He's overtaken Raikkonen now. He's up in 10th place, or 9th, I should say. Raikkonen is out of the Grand Prix, so we'll get up into 10th. I think that's where he crashed, literally at that corner. But you can see I'm struggling on these tyres, and everyone behind me already has pit for intermediates. You can see Hulkenberg pit. He was right behind us. He pit, and he's caught us back up in one entire lap, because that's how slow I was going on these dry tyres, because I literally passed the pit lane when my engineer called me in and said, oh, I think it might be time to change the strategy, change the tyres. So thanks for that, Jeff. Thanks a lot. That was really useful, telling me just a few seconds too late for me to come into the pit. So that was really, really, really useful, Jeff. I really applaud your top-notch work, and that's really going to affect your salary and really going to show in your bonuses at the end of this race, clearly. So anyways, we're into the pits. We're having our front wing change because we damaged it at some point in the Grand Prix. I'm not too actually sure when, but we put on the intermediate tyres finally, and we're down in what will be 15th place, I think. Jenson Button is ahead of us. Great, thanks Jeff, thanks. Well, we're going to lose this teammate battle because I think it's going to be quite a struggle to catch him up and overtake him because I've got no confidence on the intermediates. It took us like so many laps to even just put in a time in Q2, and then Grosjean comes down our inside, and that's how little grip we have on the fresh inters coming out stone cold, and Grosjean gets past us and he's up into 15th and we're in 16th, and unfortunately this is where the action stops. We go 3 laps to the end and we make no positions up. We lose so much time to Grosjean because at this point one, I wasn't confident on the inters, and 2, at this point I had really just given up all hope in the race and I was just a broken person. And frankly, I just stopped caring too much about my performance and I just drove around to get to the end of the race. I didn't want to crash out on purpose or anything like that. I wanted to finish off the race at least. But as we come through here, you would have seen there briefly, my engineer told me we've actually run out of fuel. So our car turns onto low fuel mode at the moment, and yeah, we got passed by Haryanto on the last lap, and then got lapped by the winner, which is Valtteri Bottas, I might add. So yeah, Baku.
GP2 engine. GP2. Ah!
Yeah, it wasn't looking good from the practice session. I think I could have told you about this result just from the practice session. Yeah, really, really, really upsetting Grand Prix. Really tough one for me, and a really, really annoying one. I really was so close. You don't know it, guys. So close in the middle of the Grand Prix to just legitimately rage quitting and maybe just not trying as hard as I could and just crashing into a wall because it was really frustrating. But I wanted to finish it off because I didn't think it was fair on you guys. So I wanted to finish off the Grand Prix and try as hard as I could. But by the time I mucked it up with the strategy on the inters and my engineer didn't call me in, I was just completely done. I just didn't really care too much for the last 3 laps. I mean, we weren't going to get any points, so I didn't really think it was going to matter too much. But Valtteri Bottas won that Grand Prix, which means he jumps us in the drivers, and Williams extend their lead in the constructors, and Toro Rosso also jump us because Sainz got 3rd, 1-2 for Williams. So a gutting Grand Prix in the sense of that our nearest rivals, Williams, have won a race and got a 1-2, just showing really how much we still have to go to even contemplate getting regular podiums in this McLaren. If our main rivals, or who I thought our main rivals were, are getting a win and a 1-2. It just really was a reality check today. If, I don't get the car right, if I don't, adapt to the circuit correctly with the McLaren, we are going to have a terrible Grand Prix. But hopefully next time out at the Austrian Grand Prix will be better. But nonetheless, I hope you guys have enjoyed that video. Nonetheless, I tried to kind of make the commentary a bit more light-hearted because it really was a laughable situation just getting passed so many times on the straights. It was a bit ridiculous. So hopefully you enjoyed that different style of commentary for this one because it was a very different race. So I couldn't really commentate it the same way. So if you did enjoy it nonetheless, hit that like button. Would really appreciate it. The support has been absolutely nuts, guys. I think every episode has got to 2,000 likes within like under 48 hours, which has been absolutely crazy. So I can't thank you guys enough for that. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I will see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next time.